Okay, just making sure that our service and program will be recorded. We're looking forward to, after the service, to see a video of an interview that Ann Loeb recently had with high school students from her hometown in Germany. And we'll say more about that in a little bit after we participate in this service. I always have found it meaningful to have a Yom HaShoah service, and especially meaningful for us as a congregation. There are community events that we can be part of as well, but I think it's very important for us as a congregation to have our own service on Yom HaShoah itself, on the day that is designated in the Hebrew calendar as Holocaust Memorial Day. Different from January 27th, which is the International Holocaust Memorial Day. That's for the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau. This day is designated as Yom HaShoah, as close to the start of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. Different understandings of then what date to use in order to commemorate the Holocaust for us, and fighting against the Germans, as the Warsaw Ghetto uprisers did, is worthy of being commemorated. And when the Knesset, Israel's parliament, a few years after the establishment of the state of Israel, set this as a date, then it became part of our Jewish calendar since then. So it's extremely important for us as the next generations to continue to remember the most horrific and most destructive act of anti-Semitism ever perpetrated against our people. 6 million of our fellow Jews murdered by the Nazis. And so we have this service that attempts to put into words the enormity and the horror of the event. Give us strength. Lord, as we gather today on Yom HaShoah, we pray for courage and we pray for strength. For as we recall the 6 million, the innocents tortured, maimed, and murdered, we are afraid to remember, but we are even more afraid to forget. We ask for wisdom that we might mourn and yet not be consumed by hatred, that we might remember the past and yet find courage to face the future, that we might face past evil and yet not lose faith in future good. We cannot erase past suffering, but we can determine that it will not be in vain. And so we pray for those who were given death, give us the courage to choose life. For those who stood silent, give us the strength to take a stand. For those who could only die as Jews, give us the chance as Jews to live, to teach ourselves, to raise our young, to learn from hate that we must love, to learn from evil to live for good. I didn't ask anyone ahead of time to participate in this candle lighting, and so I'm going to take the risk of putting some people on the spot from who I saw had entered into our Zoom Yom HaShoah service. I see the Grossbergs, Scylla and Hai Grossberg, who are both children of Holocaust survivors. Ann Loeb, obviously. I don't remember. Ira Kohlmeister, are you a child of a survivor as well?
We lost almost all the Kohlmeisters.
Okay, so you'll do one of these candles as well. I see Rita Rubenstein, who is a survivor.
Right here.
Her daughter Nina Gurman is on as well. So I don't know if Rita and Nina want to do one together or just Rita. And Ria Sears is on. She's a daughter of Holocaust survivor as well. So if all of you are willing to read one of these candles, I'll call on you to do the reading. Just say candle one, we light for remembrance, and then do that paragraph. And if it has italics underneath it, read that too. Maybe we can start with Rita. Rita Rubenstein, if you unmute yourself.
Yes, okay.
Just one second. Wait just 1 second. I have to light my candle. And, okay. And I'll light the first candle here. And if you can read, go ahead.
Okay. With the candle of remembrance, we vow to remember the struggle and sufferings of the past. Hitler's goal was not to end life, but to wipe out its memory as well. If we forget those who perished, they die a second time. We will remember.
Yes. Rhea Sears, would you like to do candle number 2? Rhea, are you there?
Okay. Candle 2, we light for life. I set before you life and death, blessing and curses. Therefore, choose life. With this candle of life, we vow to make the choice to live. As we remember the tyrants and peoples who would make of life a curse, so may we strive to make of it a blessing. We choose life.
Thank you, Rhea. Ira, would you like to do number 3?
Candle 3, we light for Zion. Out of Zion we will go forth, Torah, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. With this candle, we give thanks for the land of Israel and for its message, the people of Israel lives. May Israel, our holy land, stand for much more than physical survival alone. May it stand for justice, may it stand for hope, and may it stand for peace.
Thank you. Scylla, would you like to do candle number 4?
Yes, and Dara, if you can come on too, I would love for my daughter to be reading with
And
them.
I'm also going to have Hai do the next candle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Candle 4. With this candle, we reaffirm our commitment to the light of, right over here, to the light of Torah. May we ever continue our search for understanding of our responsibility within God's divine plan. May our lives be transformed from mere existence to the realm of holy being. May our days reflect the values of our faith.
Okay, 1 second, please. I have to let more people in. Okay, and Hai, could you do number 5?
Candle 5, we light for justice. Let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. May nations be ever alert to the danger of appeasing evil. May they rather seek to protect even the least among peoples.
And I thought maybe Ann Loeb could do candle number 6. And if you're not comfortable, Ann, by yourself, maybe Valerie can do it with you.
Yeah, because I can't see it.
I'll read on behalf, you can sit, yeah. It's right here. Jonah, can you raise that up just a little bit?
I can't see it.
Okay.
There.
You gotta
Candle-
make it bigger.
We
I
can.
can't make it bigger,
I'll
I'm
read it
sorry.
for you, okay?
That's all right. We'll do it.
Candle 6, we light for faith. May we remain faithful to the teachings of Torah, to the word of the Lord, and to the memory of those who perished.
Okay, thank you all very much for participating at the last minute like this and being called upon. And we pray that the memories of your families always be for a blessing. The partisan song is here. It's a little bit in Yiddish here, or at least in Yiddish English transliteration. My Yiddish is no good, but I'd like to sing a little bit of it, the first stanza in Hebrew and the last stanza in Hebrew, along with the last stanza in English.
I think,
Oh, Rita, yes, go ahead. Why
I
don't you
think we
sing?
should do the first stanza in Yiddish.
Go ahead,
because
Rita.
6 million, most of them spoke Yiddish.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Sag mir keinmal, als du gehst am letzten Weg, hat Himmel Leine verstellen Leute. Kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkte Schau, es wird abweckt an und trot wir seinen Tag. Kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkte Schau, Sveta Poiktan unser Trott wir seinen do. Okay, you
That
wanted to do.
means never say that you are going your last way. Though lead-filled skies above blot out the blue of day, the hour for which we long will certainly appear. The earth shall thunder neath our tread, we are here. The hour for which we long will certainly appear. The earth shall thunder neath our tread, we are here. So never say that there is only death for you. Leaden skies may be concealing days of blue, yet the hour we have hungered for is near. Beneath our tread the earth shall tremble, we are here. Yet the hour we have hungered for is near. Beneath our tread the earth shall tremble, we are here. Al kein al na tamar darki ha'achrona, et or hayom hastiro shmei ha'anana. Ze yom nichsafnu lo od ya'al ve'yavo, umitzadenu od yarim anachnu po. Ze yom nichsafnu lo od ya'al ve'yavo, umitzadenu od yarim anachnu po. There are stars whose radiance is visible on earth, though they have long been extinct. There are people whose brilliance continues to light the world, though they are no longer among the living. These lights are particularly bright when the night is dark. They light the way for mankind. Tonight we remember. Tonight we remember 6 million of our people. 6 million Jews brutally and methodically destroyed by civilized people, acting in a manner totally devoid of even the suggestion of humanity. The cruelties of Pharaoh, Haman, Nebuchadnezzar, and Titus cannot be compared with the diabolical schemes of the modern tyrants in their design to exterminate an entire people. The blood of the innocent who perished in the gas chambers of Auschwitz, Bergen-Belsen, Buchenwald, Dachau, Treblinka, and Theresienstadt cries out to God and humanity. We will never forget the burning of synagogues and houses of study, the destruction of holy books and scrolls of Torah, the sadistic torment and murder of scholars, sages, and teachers. They tortured the flesh of our brothers and sisters, but they could not crush their spirit, their faith, their love. We recall how our brothers and sisters in the Warsaw Ghetto and in Treblinka valiantly rose up and defied the monstrous adversaries. We recall the heroism of those who, in the face of unprecedented and overwhelming force, maintained Jewish life and culture and asserted Jewish values in the very midst of enslavement and degradation. Even as we mourn, we recall those precious few compassionate men and women of other faiths and nationalities who, at the peril of their own lives, saved some of our people. Truly, the righteous of all nations have a share in the world to come. O Lord, remember your martyred children. Remember all who have given their lives for the sanctification of your name. Cantor Adina is here, and she graciously agreed to lead us in the recitation of the El Male, the memorial prayer for the 6 million. If we can, we rise for this prayer and for the next page, the conclusion of our Yom HaShoah service.
El Male Rachamim Shochen Ba'meromim Hametzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanefei HaShekhinah במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע, מסעירים. לנשמות כל אחינו בני ישראל שנטבחו בשואה, אנשים, נשים וטף, שנחנקו ושנשרפו ושנהרגו, שמסרו את נפשם על קידוש השם בגן עדן תהי מנוחתם. אנא בעל הרחמים, הסתירם בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם, אדוני ונחלתם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבותיהם. ונאמר
Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the souls of our brothers and sisters who perished in HaShoah, men, women, and children of the house of Israel, who were slaughtered and suffocated and burned to ashes. May their memory endure and inspire deeds of charity and goodness in our lives. May their souls thus be bound up in the bond of life. May they rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. The Holocaust Kaddish, we continue here. I don't know if Cantor Adina, if you want to chant the Aramaic, and I'll chant the English, the names of the camps.
יתגדל
Lodge,
ויתקדש
Gors,
שמך רבה
Warsaw,
בעלמא דברה חירותי
Danovka,
וימליך מלכותך
Ravensbrück,
בחייכון וביומכון
Vilna,
ובחיי דכל בית ישראל
Treblinka,
בגלה ובזמן קריב
Elmno,
ואמרו אמן.
Amen. Yehei,
יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח
Belzec,
ויתפאר ויתרומם
Buchenwald,
ויתנשא ויתהדר
Sobibor,
ויתעלה ויתהלל
Majdanek,
שמך דקודשה בריחו
Mauthausen,
לעילה
Babi Yar,
מכל ברכתה ושירתה
Bergen-Belsen,
תושבחתה ונחמתה.
How?
דמירן בעלמא ואימרו.
Auschwitz.
Amen. יהי שלום רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Amen. Thank you very much, Cantor Adina. I believe in the sun when it is not shining. I believe in love even when feeling it not. I believe in God even when he is silent. Eli, Eli, shelo yigamer leolam, hachol v'hayam, rish rush shel hamayim, berak hashamayim, tfilat ha'adam, hachol v'hayam, rish rush shel hamayim, berak hashamayim, tfilat ha'adam. O Lord, my God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of man, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of man. And it's fitting to conclude this service with Hatikva, not just because this was a patriotic and Zionist song before the establishment of the State of Israel, but how important the State of Israel was to survivors of the Holocaust and to ensure that there will always be a safe haven in a Jewish homeland. Kol od balev pnima, nefesh Yehudi homiya, Bate mizrach kadima, ayin letzion Sophia. Od lo avda tikvatenu, hatikva shenot alpayim, liotam chofshi be'artzenu eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim, liotam chofshi be'artzenu eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim. I want to thank everyone for who participated in the service, and I want to continue now. Let me just see here. There we go. I wanted to highlight Ann Loeb now and explain what our program will be this evening. And just want to move the candles out of my way so they're not right in front of me, but so that still people can see the candles. Okay, So a few months ago, I was contacted by a high school teacher, a history teacher, in a town in Germany, because an elderly citizen of that town who was contacted by this teacher as part of the history project for high school students was interviewed about what life was like in that town before World War II, and if he remembered any Jewish people who were living in the town at the time. So he had mentioned Anne Loeb's name, not Anne Loeb, but her maiden name, Wolf. He remembered Anne Wolf. So through the magic and the detective abilities of Google, the high school teacher tracked Anne down to us, to Shaarei Tefillah congregation, seeing Anne's marriage to Freddie, may he rest in peace, and their connection with Shaarei Tefillah congregation. They took a chance and reached out to info@shaareitefillah.org, which is an email address, generic email address for the congregation, which is monitored. And so Brianna, our synagogue administrator, sent this email on to me. What do we do about this? Because the high school students wanted to contact Anne. I knew that Valerie and Ira live in the same neighborhood as Anne in Hillendale, and they look out for her and help her get onto the internet and onto Zoom and onto services that way. So I thought maybe Valerie and Ira could help make the connection. So maybe Valerie and or Ira, you can continue the story a little bit as how you got Anne connected to this high school history teacher and to the students.
Well, after Rabbi sent us the email and asked if there was anything we could do, I reached out to the teacher, Sandra, that originated the email with one of her students, and introduced myself and said, wanted to ask her a little bit more about what they were doing and whether they were looking to do with Anne, to make sure that in part that this was legitimate with everything that goes on today. So she explained what they were doing, this, what you'll hear about in the video, the memorial stones, that it was a project that she started with her high school students, that they wanted to remember and memorialize those Jewish individuals in the neighborhood that were forced out by the Germans and worse. And that's, in their research, as Jonah mentioned, they were able to track her down through the synagogue and through us. So I made the connection. We started conversing back and forth, and I asked them what they wanted to know from Anne. They sent us a list of questions, and they also mentioned a friend, a neighbor of Anne's growing up, whose father was actually Anne's teacher, who you'll see quickly in the video, which is Wilhelm, what's Mackelbach. Thank you. I'm killing the pronunciation. But so it was really a wonderful opportunity in meeting them and talking to them. They were just thrilled with meeting Anne, and you're going to see a little bit of that. So that's how it came to pass. So Ira put together, of course, all the technical stuff so that we could, have a Zoom and set it up with Anne.
So the interview lasted an hour to an hour and a half.
2 hours.
I asked Ira to distill it down to 15 to 20 minutes. So working like a 60 minutes or a 20/20 kind of investigative producer, Ira and Valerie were able to edit down that interview into the form that we're going to see now. So I haven't seen it at all yet. So this will be this will be new to me too. So Ira, if you share your screen and so that we can all see it.
All right, 1 second. So let me.
To come back to Sandra and the students. And I kind of want to give them the floor, Sandra and the students, because they have lots and lots of questions. But Wilhelm, we can certainly stay in touch. We'll figure out how to do it. And your son knows more than he thinks when it comes to that. But Sandra, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
So it's nice to see you. How are you doing?
He's talking to you.
Where's
Here's Sandra.
That's Sandra.
It's a great pleasure for us to meet you, to get connected with you. And first of all, we'd like to thank you very much for setting up this Zoom meeting.
Now, where do you kids go to school?
So 3 of them are with me. I'm surrounded by Janina, Clara, and Lara, and the others are joining from home, from their private rooms. So let me say a few words how this project came into being. Some members of the City Council were looking for young people to get involved in a history memorial project, and my students agreed to do that. So at first stage, we met Wilhelm Merkelbach and we invited him for an interview at our school. And he told us a lot about these days and his childhood friends, the sons and daughters of Edmund and Max Wolf. And so we started our research on this topic. And the Bad Kreuznach archive, the city archive, provided a newspaper article from the mid-90s when Anne Loeb and her husband and her grandson stayed in Planegg. Do you remember that event?
Yes, yeah. We took our grandson to Israel for his bar mitzvah. So when we got through there, we came to Germany because my grandson wanted to see where we lived. And so we came to Germany and and I showed him where we lived and so forth and so on. And that's when they took a picture of us in the newspaper.
Yes, okay. And this picture and this newspaper article, after we had read that, we had a slight hope to meet you, to get into contact with members of your family. And my students started to write letters and to the Washington Post and to the synagogue, and we were successful. And
how did you find this synagogue?
Great.
May I answer? So we found the article which Ms. Landsman talked about, and we Googled your grandson, and over that, or also through the fact that you had a bakery, we found articles in the Washington Post.
My grandfather?
Your grandson.
Grandson.
Oh.
Alex.
Alex, and we found 2 articles in the Washington Post, one where your family members were listed about your husband, and over that we found you because we found the synagogue and then we wrote them.
Okay.
Ladies are
So-
amazing.
Thank you. That's
And then you
amazing.
found the rabbi.
Sorry?
Yeah, somebody called the rabbi.
They wrote to him. Email.
Yes, we wrote to the synagogue. Yes. Because
So
we
anyway,
had contact,
but I got the
yes.
message, and she's been taking all my letters and everything, so she's taking care of this.
Ah, great.
One other question, because we wrote a letter to an Alex Broder we found online. Could we know if that's your grandson or if we just wrote some other person?
Broder, your
No, that was
grandson.
my son-in-law,
Son.
Yeah.
my daughter Susan's husband.
Okay.
I don't know
So-
if you can see the pictures behind Anne.
They
Yes.
have two daughters.
Yes.
So go ahead with more questions for Anne.
Yes, we have got many questions for her. Okay, please start.
Yes. So I have the first question, which is, do you still have connections to Germany?
Pardon me?
Do you still have connections to Germany?
No,
Just you. And Wilhelm, and now Wilhelm.
no, I
Yes.
don't.
So another question we had, because we knew about your bakery, was because you had horrible experiences with the Germans, how many of the German traditions you continued?
How many, because of what you experienced with the Germans, how many of the German and the horrible situation you had, how many traditions have you continued, if any, from Germany? The traditions that you grew up with?
What is it, tradition?
Traditions, customs and traditions, German customs and traditions. Did you continue any?
I don't have anybody in Germany anymore. The few friends I had over there, they passed away. They weren't Jewish. Okay, they weren't Jewish. And my relatives that lived there, they all died. No, they were taken to the concentration camp. That was 3 cousins of mine and an aunt and uncle. And they lived in that big house.
And another question, do you hear us?
Pardon me?
We hear you.
Yeah, okay. Is what did you think when you heard about our project?
What did,
With the
what did-
memorial stones and so on.
The what?
what did you think
The
about?
project.
What did you think about the project, Anne, when we first started connecting? The project with the memorial stones that the high school students are doing?
Yeah, that would,
And what did you
I don't
think
know
about
what
that?
you do. I think that's great.
She did have what? She did have a question. She said, Anne said to me, how are they gonna put those stones down in front of the houses? Are the people that are there now gonna let them? Remember
Just
that?
tell them I said it's okay. And I'm the only one that's still alive. So tell them I said it's okay.
Now another question. Do you
Is there anybody else there?
Wait, she's gonna ask a question. Hold on.
Sorry.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Do you want to tell us something or more about your childhood in Planning?
About who?
She wants to know, could you tell them more about your childhood in Planet?
Oh, my childhood in Flemish. I had a very good childhood. I knew who I was supposed to go with and who wasn't I supposed to go with. And do you know Flemish at all? Did you know
Yeah,
people?
I lived in the village next village in Langlonsheim.
Did you
She lives
know
in the next village.
where?
What's the name of the village?
Langlonsheim.
La Monsa?
Langenlonsheim.
Oh, Langenlonsheim. That's another little town.
Right, that's where they are.
Lonsheim.
Okay, do we have another question?
I think the word for Schreiner is carpenter.
Carpenter, yeah.
Carpenter. Yeah, so it's so nice to see both of you seeing each other after such a long time.
Ja,
Herr Merkelbach, es freut uns sehr, dass Sie auch da sind.
Herr
heute
Merkelbach,
Abend.
yeah, that was my teacher when I was in Planish in the shoe.
Okay, so he was a teacher at primary school, and before you go to the Lyceum, to Bad Kreuznach, Wilhelm's father was your teacher in Planik.
Oh, yeah? There was the shoe.
Okay. So it was next to your house.
Next to my house was the priest.
Okay. So we have decided to place altogether 11 memory stones at your house or in front of your houses for Edmund and Emmy. Okay, maybe we
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Question, and yeah, we would go on.
Yes, I have another question, which is, what was your family's attitude towards the Nazi regime?
What was your attitude, your family, and your attitude towards the Nazi regime?
Well, I can tell you, one morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, my grandmother lived with us. And 6 o'clock in the morning, 2 SS guys came in our house, and my grandmother had to let them in. They went upstairs, my mother and father's bedroom, picked up my father out of bed, and my brother and I stayed there and watched it all, and then took him, and we didn't know where he was going. And later we found out they put him in a concentration camp. And that was it. And they said they'll be home in the
Let me ask you though, when you saw your father taken away by the Nazis, by the SS men, you know, up until that point, how did you feel about Germany and the Nazis? Because I imagine the Nazis were, you know, a thing before they came and took your dad. And how did you feel afterwards?
Well, let me tell you, when you're 10 years old and so, let's see, I'm 33, how old was I? I'm 33, 7 years old. And you know, you're a child. I mean, you knew they were horrible people and they were after the Jews, but there was nothing you could do about it.
Another question, at that time, did you realize the danger you were in? Your family in general?
Yeah. I realized what we were in, and my parents wanted to move, to the United States, but you had to get a passport, you had to get, your number had to be called, and you had to get affidavit from somebody here in the United States that would take care of you if you can't help yourself.
So where did you go in France when you got there, you and your
Well,
brother?
when we went to France, when I got to France, my brother went to a very rich family. They took him to stay with them. They had a boy and a girl, but they didn't want to take me because I was a girl and they had a boy, so they didn't want me there. But what are you going to do? But they took my brother, who was a boy, and they had a girl. Anyway, they were nice. And my father.
So where did you go?
My father, well, my mother also had a cousin. My mother had a lot of relatives. Had also had a cousin in Paris who was married and had 2 little boys. She had a little boy that was just born and a little boy that was about 3 years or so. And they had a big apartment. Her parents lived with her in one part of the apartment, and they lived in another part of the apartment, and I had a room somewhere. And they didn't have much money. And so they never had too much money to give me real food. A lot of times I ate the food the baby didn't eat. So one day my father came by and he saw what was going on. And he says to me, "You're not going to stay here." I says, "Where am I going to go?" He says, "I got a place." I ended up in an orphanage outside of Paris.
Awesome.
And I stayed there for 9 months. We went on the ship, and the captain told us, when you hear a bell ring, you go downstairs and you get in a boat so we can take you to whatever, because we had a German submarine following us. Anyway, so we went along fine. And all of a sudden we hear the bell. And we were upstairs, my brother and I. So we ran downstairs. We were scared to death. We ran downstairs to go in our room, and people were coming upstairs, and they were saying to us, "Why are you two running downstairs?" And we said, "Well, the bell just rang." And they said, "That's because we are in safe water." And then we went upstairs. And then we saw the Statue of Liberty. And then everybody came upstairs, went on one side of the ship. They all wanted to see the Statue of Liberty. I tell you, there wasn't a dry eye on that boat. And we were in New York. Well, I tell you, I want to thank everybody.
So we'd like to thank you.
You're
It
welcome.
was a great pleasure for us to get into contact with you. And we know that we cannot undo the crimes that happened to those millions of people, but we are very concerned not to forget those people who suffered from these criminal deeds and who were persecuted and murdered. That's why we are involved in this project, and we do not want to forget your sisters, your brother, and your parents and your relatives.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all of you and to Wilhelm and his son and his wife for getting that to work. And it was really our pleasure as well to be involved and to be connected. And I hope we can continue the connection. And may the world know peace.
Yes.
Soon.
Yes.
God, I hope we have peace.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye. We are keeping contact, and we will hear from you. You will hear from us.
And hopefully with Wilhelm too, we can stay in touch.
Yes, we will.
Yes.
We will.
So that was incredible. First, I want to thank Ira for editing that, and Valerie and Ira for arranging with Anne to be the intermediaries with the teacher and those students in Germany. What an incredible project that was. We have some time for some questions if we have questions for Anne, and I would request that you put those questions in the chat. So if you see on the bottom of your screen, you see a bunch of words on the bottom of your screen. One of them is chat. If you go to chat, you'll see that an option of who to chat to, either to everyone, or you can go down the list and chat to me. So that way I'll see the questions if you have a question. So Anne, while people are thinking of questions, Anne, I wanted to ask you, from the time that your parents decided to leave Germany to get to, and then in order to get to Paris, how much time did that take from Germany to
That
Paris?
took a long time.
How long?
Oh, I can't tell you that. It took a couple of years.
A couple of years. So when did it start? What year did your father start?
Well, they took my father to the concentration camp, as you heard. And that was in 38.
38.
38. And when he got out of the concentration camp, they told him that he had to leave Germany by the time the year was up.
Okay.
He had no place to go.
Right.
So my mother had an uncle in Paris who used to be a mayor in Italy.
Oh.
And he was like half blind. He could only see at night, not during the day. So he had a room in a hotel, just one room in a hotel where he stayed.
Yeah.
And my father had to leave, so my father wrote him if he could stay with him.
Yeah.
And he said, of course. So my father went to France the end of the year.
Right. Okay. So so that was the summer of 1938 that your father was taken to the concentration camp. How how was he allowed to get out of the concentration camp? How did he get out?
Well, in the concentration camp, they told him that he was not allowed to talk about the concentration camp because wherever he goes, they're gonna find him.
Okay.
So I don't know, and he never talked about the concentration camp.
So how long was he there for? Do you
He
know?
wasn't there too long. He was not there too long.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Didn't you say that he had told the guards that he
Oh, that
fought
was
for them?
another concentration
Or was
camp.
it different concentration?
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Is that how he got out of that one?
So
He got out
summer,
of that one pretty quick.
yeah. So summer of 38, he was in a concentration camp. By the end of 1938, you're all in Paris. And then how long?
No.
Oh, no?
No. We went through the 9th of November.
Kristallnacht. Yeah, yeah, so that's right. So that's November of 38.
Yes.
Right. And then it was after that that you went to Paris. So how long were you in Paris until you were able to get on a boat to America?
9 months.
9 months. I see. And you had family here, so that was the connection that you were able to get the paperwork?
Well, we had family here. My grandmother had a lot of sisters and brothers.
Uh-huh.
They all lived in California up there, San Francisco and places like that.
Right.
My grandmother's sister, I don't know when she came here, but she must have come here shortly after the First World War. Because she was here a long time. And she married one of the guys that made what do you call these pants?
Jeans?
Jeans, yeah. Jeans, but they had a name. And she married one of those guys.
Huh.
Levi's, yeah.
Really?
And she had a lot of money. But we couldn't bring my grandmother with us.
Oh.
Because my father had looked in the paper in Germany once, and they had in there that the Americans were looking for farmers. And so he wrote in right away.
Right.
That he was a farmer. So he got a different number, an earlier number.
Ah, okay.
But my grandmother couldn't get on that number.
Oh.
So she couldn't go with us.
So what happened to her?
She ended up in a concentration camp.
Oh, wow.
She had a ticket. She had a plane ticket ready. She had her passport ready. She had everything ready. All she had to do was go on the plane.
Yeah.
And the Germans wouldn't let her go. And that was in 1942.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. So your grandson, Alex, is on this Zoom. And when the video was playing and how you mentioned that you had traveled, you and Freddie had taken Alex to Israel and then to Germany, to your hometown, he put something in the chat that you have a photo album from that trip that you took. And the article that the students were talking about, he says are in that photo album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to find it.
I was going to ask if maybe you had it right there, that maybe you could show.
Right here? No.
No, okay.
I wasn't told to bring it if I was.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I just thought.
But I hope to see you again.
So yes, so do we. So I guess another grandson, Spencer, says that Alex is the oldest and favorite grandson.
They all say he's the favorite grandson.
Right.
Alex always came in and he said, "Here's your favorite grandson." Alex, you're not my favorite grandson. You're my favorite oldest grandson.
That's it.
Spencer says we love you, Oma.
Yeah,
Spencer says we love you, Oma.
yeah. So,
It says, I love
do you
you.
have, do you have other relatives, Anne, who did not make it out of Germany, who,
Oh, yeah, yes. I had an uncle living next door to us because we built a house right next to the house where we lived in, where he lived in too.
Right,
And so we built a house right next to, and they had 3 children,
yeah,
and my uncle and the aunt. And so we were always close, very close, my 3 cousins.
uh-huh,
And in the summertime, we always used to go to an aunt, my father's sister, who lived in Düsseldorf.
uh-huh,
And we used to spend our vacation there.
huh,
And then when I came back from that vacation, my father was home. So I don't know how he got home. I don't know if my mother had to pay a lot of money or if he just got, I don't know.
uh-huh, uh-huh. So, Anne, I also want to ask you, I think you had said that you didn't want anything to do with Germany ever again. And then out of nowhere, these students contacted you. So I want to know.
I don't know. I don't know who they are.
No. I wanna know, what did you think about that? Did you want to help them and do the interview, or did you think this is Germany, I don't want anything to do with this?
No, I didn't.
Uh-huh.
I just gave it. In fact, I talked to Rita before I did it. And Rita told me she talks about what happened to her all the time. And she says, better talk about it because, after a while, we're all gone.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know about it. So I decided I would do it.
Good. Your grandson, Alex, wants to ask you a question. So Alex, unmute yourself and then ask your Oma a question.
What do you want?
Alex, go ahead. We can't hear you. You're unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Can't hear me. How is he going to ask me questions?
Yeah, I don't know. Alex?
Oh, he's a character.
Alex, I don't know what's wrong. I see on my, since I'm the host, I see on my participant list that you're unmuted and we also can see you, but I can't hear you. All right, Alex, maybe type the question in the chat. So Anne, what part of Germany was this town that you, what was the name of the town and what part of Germany was it?
Where we live?
Where you grew up?
Planish.
Planish. So where in Germany is it? Where is eastern, northern, southern, what part of Germany?
What part of Germany?
Huh?
What part of Germany is Planish?
What part of Germany?
Like what's it near?
It was not far from Luxembourg, I'll tell you.
Oh, okay. So kind of in the Rhine or Rhone Valley?
No, that was nice place. That was not far from us. That was not far from us.
Not far from you. Okay. But Western
I
Germany.
did grow up on the Rhine though.
Okay. So we're coming up to 8:30 and I think we should wrap this up. Anybody else have any? Okay. Okay, so Alex has this question for you, Anne, and I think this is an important question in which we can end. That Alex says, faith, Judaism has always been really important in your life. how did your experience in Germany and having, and with the Nazis and having to escape, all of that, how did that impact your Judaism later in life? Did it make your faith stronger? Did it make you ask questions about your faith? What did your experience, how did that impact your Judaism?
It didn't impact me at all. I just figured, you know, when you're little, you don't think like when you're older.
Uh-huh.
And I was only 12 years old.
Right.
And we went to America.
Yeah.
And of course, my parents had a tough time because they had to start working all over again.
Right.
And we were very comfortable in Germany, but then we came to America. Well, we got to start all over again.
Right.
And it was tough. But you know, nobody ever mind. Everybody helped, everybody worked, and every time we got paid, we give it to our parents.
Huh. Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's very inspiring, Anne, to hear your story. In hearing stories like this, it like you said, you talked to Rita, who gave you the who pushed you to talk to these students, to tell your story.
Uh-huh.
It's important for those students to hear your story, so it's part of their history, so that they can come to terms with it. And it's part of our history too, Anne. It's so important for the next generation.
Let me tell you something else.
Yeah.
We went on vacation during Pesach all the time.
Yeah.
And one time, did you know Monty?
Yes, the photographer who lived in a neighborhood. Yes.
Yeah. Well, he was the photographer.
Yes.
And he was a heck of a photographer. And he worked with us.
Yes.
With our group.
Yes.
Yeah. And so he had a friend that lived in Belgium. And he wanted him to come over and take his wedding pictures. He was marrying somebody from Austria.
Mm-hmm.
And they were very well up in the government.
Mm-hmm.
And they belonged to the champagne. What is the good champagne? Mum? No, that was the other friend.
M-O-E-T? M-O-E-T? Is that the brand?
Moet?
No, I don't know. Anyway, they had a champagne thing going. So, but they lived in Vienna.
Yeah.
So Monty said to them, "Can I bring a friend of mine?" And they said, "Sure." So we went with them. We took them, yeah.
Yeah.
Sandra wanted to go with us to Germany for real because we spoke German.
Right.
Sandra, your
And so
daughter?
she wanted to go with us.
Your daughter?
Huh?
Sandra, your daughter? Sandra?
Sandra,
Yeah.
Monty's wife.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh. Got it.
And so we went over
Yes.
Vienna. And we stayed in a hotel. And we both stayed together in the hotel. So one day, Monty wanted to go out sightseeing. And so Freddie got a car and we drove over where Mozart was born.
Uh-huh.
And that was a street you can't go in. And one of the German police guys came over to us and he spoke in German.
Yeah.
Said, "Did you know you can't go in this street?"
Yeah.
Freddie says, "I'm sorry, I can't speak German."
Okay.
And they were, yeah, they were married. They were married in a synagogue. No,
Huh.
no, I'm wrong. They were married in a church,
Uh-huh.
but his father was from Chicago, and they
Okay.
all came over, and they were Jewish, of course,
Uh-huh.
and he was Jewish too. So this girl was a gorgeous looking girl, but of course they weren't Jewish,
Uh-huh.
and they did not like Jews.
Hmm.
Anyway, so we went along, and whenever we went out and they took us someplace, either the father went with us or the mother went with us. They never went together.
Huh. Huh.
So we found out they both were drinking a lot. And then once in the summertime, we went to their summer house, which was near the Czechoslovakia border.
Mm-hmm.
And that house had bullets in there, I tell you. And what happened after that? Well, they had the wedding in the church, in a Christian church, of course, in a Christian church. And now, when it was close to the wedding, Monty's friend that lived in, where did I say?
Vienna?
Belgium. No, Belgium. In Switzerland. No, Belgium, I think. Anyway, he called up Freddie one morning and he says, Freddie, I can only talk to you because the rest of them don't speak German. And they don't speak German and English. So would you mind Sunday morning, before we get to shul, to the synagogue, would you mind going over there and see if they got the chuppah up?
Uh-huh.
Now, you were in Vienna. They never saw a Jewish couple being married in a church.
Right.
So we went over, we got a cab, and we went over, and the cab driver let us off about to a house, well, about a half a mile where the church was. So we went out and we called them up and said, yes, the chuppah was up. And so we waited for the wedding to begin.
Yeah. All right, Anne, we have to conclude. I want to thank you very much for sharing your story. Again, I want to thank Ira and Valerie for coordinating the interview with the high school students in Germany and for coordinating everything this evening. Like I said, it's important for all of us to hear your story, Anne, and to hear the story of all the people who survived Nazi Germany. It's important for us to hear what you went through, and you are here, and so that you leave a legacy. You have a legacy of grandchildren and great-grandchildren. It's wonderful that they're on. May you stay in good health, Anne. May you may you celebrate more simchas with your family, and may your life always be a source of blessing and strength to all of us.
Thank you so much, Rabbi.
You're welcome, and thank you all, everyone, for being here this evening. And let us have a meaningful Yom HaShoah, a meaningful Holocaust Memorial Day. Good night, everyone.
I want to say one last thing, that if you want to find, everybody has a different story.
Yes.
If you go on the website, U.S. Holocaust Memorial
You
Museum,
can watch Survivor.
first person, you can hear the first person interviews, where they interview us in the museum, and hundreds of people from all over the country come and hear our story.
That could be a
So
good.
never forget pass
Right.
the stories on to your children and grandchildren. That's why it's important for us to tell our story. And I
Absolutely.
encourage them to tell hers. It's different than mine. It's different than many others.
Right.
So,
Thank you,
yeah,
Rita.
never again. Please pass it
Never
on.
again.
Never again.
All right, good night, everybody.
Thank you all.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Good
Good
night.
night.